So this is lesson 2 in the workbook, and this time we are talking about the angles of a triangle adding up to 180 degrees. So we learned that in the activity that you did earlier. So we know from that activity that angles A, B, and C that all form a triangle add up to 180 degrees. So I don't even need to know what any of these are equal to because it's just asking me what they add up to, and that's 180 degrees. Now on number 2, it gives you 2 of the angles, and it's asking you to figure out the third. So just like we did in the last chapter, finding angles on a line, we do the same thing with triangle angles. So we add up these 2 angles first. That gives us 150. And if we say 180 minus 150, that leaves us with 30 degrees. So that means this angle F is 30 degrees. Okay, so now when we come down to number 3, I don't have a protractor, so I'm not able to measure these. If you do have a protractor and would like to measure them, go ahead, give it a try. See if you do indeed get 3 angles that add up to 180 degrees. So I'm going to let you do that if you do have a protractor. If not, it's okay. I know that the sum of the angles is 180 degrees. I don't need to know exactly what they are except just to prove it and see that it's true, but I know that they'll all add up to 180 degrees. Okay, so let's move on to the next page. So here are some problems very similar to what we had in the last chapter with finding angles on a line. The only difference now is that the angles are in a triangle, but we know that they still add up to 180 degrees. So if I add 43 plus 62, that gives me 105. And if I subtract that from 180, because I know all 3 of these have to add to 180, that gives me 75 degrees. So that means this angle right here is 75 degrees. And same with number 5. If I add these 2 angles together, they give me the measurements of those. So if I add those together, I know I get 122. And then if I subtract that from 180, that tells me that this angle right here is 58 degrees. And same with number 6. If I add the angles that I know together, that gives me 41 degrees. And then if I subtract that from 180, that gives me the angle that I didn't know, which would be 139 degrees. And that makes sense because you can tell that this angle H is a really big angle, bigger than 90 degrees, so it makes sense that that would be 139 degrees. And finally, this last one, this is a little bit of a challenge one, but you solve it the exact same way. So you take what you know that all the angles have to add up to 180, and we know that this one is 60 and this one is 32. So there's actually a couple different ways to solve it, but what I did was I said 60 plus 32 is 92. And if I take 92 and subtract that from 180, that leaves me 88. So that means this whole angle right here has got to equal 88. So we know this little piece right here is 50. So 88, we know this whole thing is 88. So 88 minus 50, that means this little angle right here would be 38 degrees. So again, I know all of these together have to add up to 180. Okay, that is the end of our workbook pages.